Today on the Big 3 in 30, the Knicks beat Victor Wembanyama and the Spurs.
Neemias Queta's monster night.
The Timberwolves take down the Nuggets in Denver.
Just had their best win of the season.
And the Celtics get a win over the 76ers.
They finally beat a good team at full strength on the road.
This is the Big 3 in 30 NBA. The three biggest stories in the NBA from our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The Big 3 in 30 NBA starts now. Thank you for making the Big 3 in 30 your first listen of the day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. The Knicks hosted the Spurs last night and took a win that snapped San Antonio's 11-game winning streak. Locked On Knicks host XJ breaks down just how big this win is for New York.
I'm going to dive right in to the guy, Mohamed Diawara. Oh, man. The Knicks, like I said, just had their best win of the season. And I'm starting off talking about Mohamed Diawara, 51st overall pick. Can't legally drink in the United States of America yet, Mohamed Diawara. And you guys know, if you listen to this show consistently, it shows that I'm on, this is my first season doing Locked On Knicks, and I've loved doing it. I've loved interacting with you all, learning, commenters, your names, your perspectives and experiences, all of those kinds of things. It's been truly a pleasure. If you learn stuff about me, you've learned that I'm a pretty cautious guy. I don't generally jump to like really strong conclusions unless it's grounded in substantiated research or evidence or there's a strong grounding for it, right? And that's really about anything related to basketball, especially young players, because you never know what you're going to get from a young player. You don't know if they'll have an explosive couple weeks and then they completely fall off, if they'll be terrible for, the first 5 months of their career and then be one of the top players in the league. All of those things can happen with young players. Trajectories are very unclear, and we still know very little about like how guys develop and become really, really good and what things look like when they're going to be really, really good. But ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, you were right about Mohamed Diawara. You were right about Mohamed Diawara. I am not a guy who will look at a young player like that on my team and overrate him or overhype him. That is not something I'm going to do. And the reason for that, I don't think you guys were doing that, to be clear, but I am overly on guard for personal bias. I do not want personal bias to leak into my, attempted objective analysis of the team. And so for that reason, if I sense anything like that could be happening, I'm going to be more cautious about it. So I waited, but the evidence is here for me, man. In this Spurs game, it's enough. It's the cherry on top. It's the straw that's stirring the drink, whatever you want to call it. It's the straw that broke the horse's back. Can you leave in the comment? What is that phrase? I don't even know. I can't even think of it. But the guy is legit. He is just so confident himself to see, a guy at his age, drafted where he was drafted, have no fear whatsoever. It is stunning to me. It is stunning to me. The way he came out in the second half, to me, is the clearest representation of that. The Spurs, as I mentioned, put on an absolute masterclass of ghost coverage deployed over the first 6 minutes of the game. It was absolutely textbooked. I'm going to go deep dive into that super. If you're a film X and O's nerd, you'll love to hear that segment. I'm going to talk about that in the second segment. But right now, I want to talk about the fact that the Knicks bring in Diawara after that. And the Spurs are like, oh, you guys are just going to bring in another Josh Hart? We're going to do the same thing. Watch what happens. Diawara is like, no, that's not the case. He ends up getting a wide open three early into his insertion into the game on a kick out from Towns, pulls it, no hesitation, cashes it. And then the look in his face as he just stares down the Spurs, like the whole Spurs team is hilarious. He's just like, y'all got me effed up. Like this is not going to go how you think it's going to go. And then the interesting thing is he gets two more looks later on from three and he kind of hesitates. And I tweeted it out and shout out to my guy, Jeff Johnson, who, replied and was like, Diawara is probably hesitating because he doesn't want to get subbed out. And those were pretty deep threes. And, he's thinking about like, how do I play the right way? And how do I do things within the flow of the team and all those kinds of things. And I think there's a lot to that. I think he wants to feel like, okay, coach, look, I'm making good decisions. I'm doing the right thing. But you can tell he kind of regretted it. He's like, why did I hesitate on those? Like, I know I can make these. And so in the second half, he comes in, he gets his opportunity again. And he's just gunning nine 3-point attempts in the second half. I think, let me just double check and make sure I'm not yet. 3 of 9 in the second half, 9 3-point attempts in 8 minutes from Mohamed Diawara in the second half. That is, I'm not going to calculate for you how many 3-point attempts. I mean, we know it's 27 per 36 3-point attempts. This is astronomical in terms of, that's just gunning. There's no way around it. He didn't care at all. He's just pulling threes wherever he's open. He's like, you are not going to guard me this way. I'm too good a shooter. He believes it in his core. And again, to me, I look at behaviors to reflect belief. Like I talked about this with Josh Hart, and Josh Hart, I thought, had actually a really good game after the first 6 minutes, which was terrible. And he was completely damaging to the team, but then had a really good game after that point. And we'll talk about why. But Josh Hart, although he's shooting nearly 40% from three this season, I don't think he believes he's a 40% 3-point shooter, because I look at behaviors to reflect deep, true beliefs, right? Like if you believe you're that good a shooter, you're not hesitating and pump faking and passing up wide open corner threes. You're just not. And Mohamed Diawara is like, no, I believe it. And I'm going to shoot these because I know I'm that good at it. And if you believe it, your opponent will start to believe it. They have no choice but to be like, oh man, this guy's legit. Like he's good, man. And this is not stuff we see from a 20-year-old raw rookie that's not supposed to be good yet, not supposed to have a jump shot yet. All of these things, these are not things you see from a guy in his situation, at his age, with his pedigree. It just doesn't really happen. And we saw specifically, I'm going to make this concrete because I'm not just talking about theory. We saw Wemby start to believe it. We saw on the one attempt later in the second half, Diawara has the ball from the top of the key, begins his shot motion because he's like, yeah, I'm shooting everything. And Wemby is like sort of in no man's land. He's in the middle and he decides to contest. He goes forward towards Diawara with an outstretched arm and he decides to contest it. And guess what happens? He's out of the play. Now, Karl Anthony Towns, who's guarded by the smaller Stephon Castle, is able to get the offensive rebound and go back up. I forget the result of the play. I don't know if Towns got fouled or what it was. I think he got fouled, but yeah, he did get fouled because I remember him falling on the floor and the camera being in his face while he's on the floor. So he got fouled after that. And that's set up by Mohamed Diawara's pressure. He's creating pressure by saying, are you sure about this whole ghost coverage thing? Are you sure this is what you want to do? Because you're saying, hey, we're going to just let you shoot all night and we're going to live with it. And yeah, it being smug and all that. And it's like, okay, cool. I love that train. I love that exchange. I love that trade-off. I love that you want to live with that because I want to live with that too. And that is a level of confidence, a level of poise, a level of true belief in oneself and skill sets that a player that is under 21, that has only played, a few, I don't know how many hundreds of minutes that he's played in the NBA, not many, like to have that confidence at that point is incredible. And obviously he does a ton of other things. He played really great defense. Michael Malone on the broadcast was saying at some point, like, sorry to Jeremy Sohan, but you're going to have trouble getting back your minutes. I think it was when Diawara guarded Stephon Castle. Castle makes like a nice crossover move. Diawara turns his hips and gets his hips flipped back in front and gets the block at the rim. And it's like, yeah, now this guy's guarding like this. He's shooting with confidence. He's attacking closeouts. He's affecting the game both ways now. And this guy he's just good. There's no other way around it, to the extent that I'm just utterly convinced he's going to be a playoff rotation player for this team. 20 years old, man. 20 years old, 51st pick, a playoff rotation player for this team is crazy to think about. It just doesn't happen. And so again, I haven't held out saying Diawara is not that good or anything like that. I've held out just saying, like, let me see more. Give me more time. Give me more evidence. Give me more data to work with before I start making broad claims. And to your credit, all of you guys are like, man, I've seen enough. I can tell what we have in this kid. And you were right. You were right. This guy is legit. And I don't know what his ceiling's going to be. If it's going to be, sub all-star, superstar, who knows? I have no idea. And I won't put a cap on it. But right now, he is an impact player. He is a guy who can play for you. And if Diawara lineups start to be 5-shooter lineups, meaning that 5-shooter lineups are not, what your shooting percentages are. They are how defense guards you. And if defenses started to say, no, we have to respect Muhammad Diawara as a shooter, good luck to the Eastern Conference as the Knicks make their way through it, hopefully making it to a finals appearance.
Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into a reality with the NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future and you'll be automatically entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for 2. That's right, flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock it in. Not only can your pick cash, but it could also send you to the finals. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Welcome back to the Big 3 and 30 NBA. The Timberwolves had 6 players get to double figures and used the team effort to beat the Nuggets last night. Ben Beacon recaps the road win on Locked On Wolves.
The Wolves win over Denver, and it was an important win. I said in the open, a much-needed win, not because the Wolves have lost a bunch of games lately, although they're like 500 in their last 12 before coming into this one, but because they finally beat a good team at full strength on the road, right? Like it's been a little while since this has happened. We all know the Wolves can do it, and it doesn't certainly doesn't solve the playing to the competition piece of things, but it's certainly an important, we'll call it box check. Right? We know that the Wolves can beat good teams like this. And now they did it. And they did it in a unique way. And what I mean by that is the Wolves had a very balanced offense. We'll get into this here in just a minute. We'll talk about how Ant handled the unique way Denver, not that unique, but the specific way that Denver tried to defend him. And then also how the Wolves, did what they needed to do along the way. Denver pushed back several times. The Wolves just kept pushing ahead and eventually pulled away in the final minutes of the fourth quarter. So we'll break down how the Wolves were able to do all that. We'll talk about lots of impressive individual performances. Really, everybody that played had a significant role in this one. It was a very balanced game for Minnesota. But I want to start with my 3 big things, and we'll do that here in just a moment. First, a big thank you for making Locked On Wolves your first listen every day. Of course, this show is free and available everywhere. That includes YouTube, as well as all of your favorite audio platforms. Wherever you like to listen to podcasts, you can find Locked On Wolves. You could also watch on the Locked On Sports Minnesota app on both Roku and Amazon Fire TV. All right. So this game, obviously super important. Wolves have already lost the tiebreaker to Denver coming into this one, but coming into the game with an identical record as the Nuggets, obviously winning this game puts them ahead of Denver by a game in the Western Conference. And now the Wolves stand alone in 4th and actually are in a virtual tie with Houston for the 3rd seed in the West. So an important game for that reason. An important game for the reason I already mentioned, which is just beating a good team on the road. And there's a lot that went right in this one for the Timberwolves. I'm going to start with my 3 big things. Number one, this is a very broad topic, and sometimes that's what happens in the 3 big things. But I want to hit on resiliency. That's my number one thing. Minnesota was down 9 at the end of the first quarter, and Denver was getting the free throw line a lot. They did throughout the game. I mean, Denver ended up shooting ultimately, I guess, only 8 more free throws than Minnesota, but for a while they were doubling up the Wolves in the free throw attempt category. Denver's getting to the line a bunch. They were playing physical. They were doubling Anthony Edwards. We'll talk more about that. The Wolves just missed a ton of threes. Like Dante DiVincenzo made his first 3-point attempt of the game, the Wolves' first 3-point attempt of the game early in the first quarter. And then Minnesota missed their next 8 threes. Julius Randle looked awful early in the game. It looked like a continuation of the other night when he scored 4 points last Thursday night. And, obviously a low in a Timberwolves uniform, low in years for Julius Randle. He couldn't score. The Wolves couldn't make a 3. It just looked like, oh man, whether it's the altitude or, the residual of everybody being concerned about Finch and Anthony Edwards' relationship and some of the other stuff, those narratives that are out there, right? But in the second quarter, Bones Highland came to play. And Bones Highland fits into this resiliency category. I mean, he got 16 minutes off the bench. He scored 18 points on 7 shots, and 15 of his 18 points were in the first half. He almost single-handedly kept the Wolves in the game early. And it sounds crazy. And I know I just did a show like a week ago talking about how Bones Highland needs to play less. I'm not at all recanting that, because I think in the grand scheme of things, you'd rather see some minutes from, depending on the matchup, Jalen Clark, TJ Shannon, Kyle Anderson, once he's officially joined the team. Any other, I mean, there's another potential move that could come. There was some Tyus Jones rumors this weekend. That's something we'll cover maybe on tomorrow's show. But in this particular game, it's exactly why you bring in a guy like Bones Highland. And a year ago, I talked about almost exactly a year ago when they added him on a 2-way deal in the first place. I said, look, he's the sort of guy, due to injuries or, foul trouble, whatever, you bring him in and he can get you a quick 20. And he's usually not going to be good defensively. Some nights he's going to shoot you out of the game if you let him play too much. But if you need it, it's a high variance play with Bones Highland, right? Now, of course, the kicker is he is actually part of the rotation now. And that's part of some of the challenges here is the high variance with Bones. Like, you're not always going to get this version of Bones. And actually, if you look at it, and this is a noisy thing, but he had the second worst plus minus on the team in this game. All that to say, he was awesome in the second quarter, and he almost single-handedly allowed Minnesota to stay in the game and then eventually to take a lead. I mean, Minnesota was up, I think, 8 at halftime after being down by 9 at the end of the first quarter. The Wolves outscored Denver 36-19 in the second quarter. And then also as the game wore on, more resiliency. They were great in the non-Jokic minutes. When Jokic was on the floor, it was a lot tougher. We saw Denver continue to get to the line as the game wore on. We saw some, the challenge not go the Timberwolves' way, which happens, of course. But this sort of like, I don't know, not avalanche isn't the right word, because it didn't come with that sort of, ferociousness. But it was like one thing after another. Denver would make a push and it would be a closer game, and then the Wolves could push back, right? And they did it in a variety of different ways. And really one of the things they hung their hat on, and I just go ahead and throw this into this first thing, is how the Wolves did against, I'll put this in air quotes, the transition defense of the Denver Nuggets. The Nuggets have one of the worst defenses in the league, and it's been like bottom 5 over the last month, 6 weeks or so. And they've been bad in transition all season. They also turn the ball over a lot, which is not a recipe for success. And that, for the way that this version of the Timberwolves plays, which is very fast, that is a very good thing for the Wolves. And sure enough, Denver turned it over 14 times. They gave up 22 points on those 14 turnovers, which is a huge number. By comparison, the Wolves turned it over 14 times, and Denver got only 11 points off of the same number of turnovers. So the Wolves got twice as many points off of Nuggets turnovers as the Nuggets got off of Timberwolves turnovers, because I think it's part of it's live ball to dead ball. And then the other piece of it is just how bad the Denver transition defense is. And yeah, the Wolves can look really bad too in transition defensively, but not as bad as Denver. And that was a huge piece of this. And that fed into the Timberwolves being able to push back with some runs of their own. And again, that point of resiliency. The second thing, well, actually, so one other quick note on that. I had made a note about 3-point shooting. The Wolves ended the game shooting great, 39% from 3. They started like 1 of 8, and then they kept at it, and they kept shooting threes. They kept running plays to get threes for Dante, to get threes for Nas, to get threes for, Ant. And ultimately, they made 14 threes in this game. Denver only made 6. They attempted 14 more threes than Denver, and they made 8 more threes. They were 39% to Denver's 27. So I'd lump that in with resiliency. As something that didn't start out well, but we know the Wolves are going to keep shooting, right? The other thing is the non-Jokic minutes. That's big thing number 2. This is an obvious thing for any team that plays Denver, but in the non-Jokic minutes, you have to be great. And the Wolves were. Jokic was a +4 in a game the Wolves won by 9. So in the non-Jokic minutes, and this I guess includes garbage time and stuff, but there wasn't a whole lot of that. It was like a minute and a half. But in the non-Jokic minutes, the Wolves were +13. And the Wolves were -4 when Jokic was on the floor. That's huge. It's what you have to do. And there's only 11 of those. Jokic played 37 minutes. So you only have 11 minutes to make hay when Jokic is off the floor. And I thought the Wolves did a good job of mixing and matching lineups. When Jokic was off the floor. And also Jamal Murray shared some of that time off the floor. Like the Nuggets are miserable when both Jokic and Murray are off the floor because the defense is bad no matter what. No matter who's on the floor, it's bad for Denver. The offense can survive with Jokic off the floor and Murray on, but not when they're both off the floor. Gobert ate Jonas Valanciunas' lunch. Valanciunas got the flagrant one for the elbow on Dante DiVincenzo. Was a minus 15 in 10 minutes. Gobert was really good in this game. I thought he competed. I know he got dunked on. That happens when you actually challenge shots instead of just let guys have free runs to the rim like some bigs do to try and avoid getting dunked on. Gobert was really good, and I thought he was great in the non-Jokic minutes. Like, I get it. He doesn't guard Jokic great one-on-one. He just doesn't. I mean, first of all, not many guys do, although Karl-Anthony Towns does, weirdly enough. But I thought he held his own when given a really impossible assignment. And, I mean, ultimately, Jokic turned it over 5 times, and he still got his 35, 13, and 9, but the Wolves won the non-Jokic minutes by 13 points, and that's how you beat Denver. What are you going to do with Jokic, right? I thought the Wolves handled that about as well as you possibly could.
Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into a reality with the NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future and you'll be automatically entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for 2. That's right, flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock it in. Not only can your pick cash, but it could also send you to the finals. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Welcome back to the Big 3 and 30 NBA. The Celtics pulled away in the fourth quarter and beat the 76ers in Boston last night. John Corrales goes over the 16-point win on Locked On Celtics.
Neemias Queta's monster night and just an incredible performance all the way around for him. 27 points, 17 rebounds. 10 of those were offensive rebounds. 27 and 17. An incredible night for Queta, who joins like select company in having the night that he did. It's I think it was Kevin McHale and like 2 other guys. I don't have the stat in front of me, but it's very select company here to have 27 points, 17 rebounds, 10 offensive rebounds. In fact, if you throw in, this is from Dick Light, his field goal percentage, the assists and the steal, only David Robinson did all of those things. So I love adjusting sliders to make performances look great. But yeah, Nimi was incredible. And it was funny because the first sign of Nimi doing something, he had like a move where he brought the ball like low, and he practices stuff like this before games. He does like these kind of like the fun, like the crazy moves and stuff. He has a nice touch around the rim, but he had a move where he just kind of like brought it low and brought it around and finished. And I was like, wait, what? Nimi did that? Okay, interesting. And then he got the ball. It was, I think he had a steal. Then he got the ball kind of in transition and he hit a power dribble. Looked like he was going to go up for a big dunk and it got challenged and he just brought it up and under and laid it in. And you were like, wait a second. Like immediately I was like, this doesn't make any sense. What's happening here? I know Neemias Queta has been very much improved, but this all of a sudden is just bringing it up and around. There's a picture of him with the arm extended out, and you're like, "What is? That's not Neemias Queta." What? But it was in this game. Queta was just brilliant and big start to the game, big first quarter, and then big fourth quarter. And if there's, I don't know who's improved their game more in the league this year than Queta. If he's not the most improved player, I don't know what they're doing with that award. And no, normally the most improved player goes to the guy that's scoring. Hey, he went from 6 points a game last year to like Now he's scoring 18 or something like that. And that's not necessarily Nimi, but he has improved basically every facet of his game. Every aspect of his game has been markedly improved. His screening, his recognition, his reading, his passing, the finishing. He has a nice touch around the rim. He's got a decent little floater. He's got a nice little jump hook. And, I see him extending his range, taking 3-pointers in shoot around and pregame. And you're like, I was watching him the other day before the Brooklyn game. I'm like, the jumper doesn't look half bad. The jumper looks good. I don't know that he's going to ever become a stretch 5, but I don't know. I didn't think he was going to become this, so I can't put anything past him. He's working on it, but he's got a nice touch, and the finishing, it's Jalen after the game was talking about it, and he was going through the box score, and he was talked about like the up and under. He just started to smile. And so I had the mic and I asked him a question. I was like, you're already smiling looking at the, describing the finishes. What's going on there? Like, what were you talking? And he just laughed. He's like, let's just say that those aren't things that he would normally finish. But he finished them tonight. And it was great. But he was laughing at the finish. The guys on the bench were laughing at some of the finishes. No one could believe what Nimi was doing. But more importantly than all of that stuff, it was the offensive rebounds, because in the first quarter, especially, the Celtics they missed everything. They 3 of 13 from 3, 8 of 26 from the field. The fact that they matched the Sixers 26 field goal attempts in the first quarter is a miracle. But that's because Nimi had 5 offensive rebounds and the Celtics had 7. And it was the Celtics had an opportunity there. They gave themselves chances, extra bites at the apple, so to speak. And normally when a team shoots 8 of 26 and 3 of 13 from 3, that's a chance for the other team to get out in transition, to get out, run, put up a bunch of field goal attempts. What should have happened, in all honesty, was the Sixers should have had 31 shots, and the Celtics should have had 21. And that would have meant maybe 6 of 21 for Boston. And, let's just say 12 or 13 of 31 for Philly. So you take 2 buckets away for the Celtics. Just even if we just say they're 2-pointers, you give them 22 points. You put an extra, 4, 6 on Philly's side. Now they're at 32, and instead of being down 2, you're down 10. And that just changes the dynamic of the game. Now in the second quarter, maybe Philly's coming out with a little bit added intensity. Maybe they're feeling themselves a little bit more, and you just, again, the butterfly effect of the game changes in that way. So getting those offensive rebounds, even if they didn't even result in more makes, the Celtics were able to they got themselves to the line where they were a perfect 7 for 7 in the first quarter. They were +4 in that. They were able to match the Sixers in 3-point makes, even though they took 6 more. They still were able to get the 3. And okay, so they had 3 fewer baskets, but they had 4 more free throws. So there's your 2-point difference. Philly was +6 in the made baskets, and the Celtics were +4 points in the free throws. And now you're only 2-point game. That's critical. That is critical for the Celtics. And I was listening to Sixers podcast on the way home, and they said it after that first quarter where the Celtics were awful shooting, absolutely awful, and the Sixers were only up 2. They even said it, like, we knew we were losing this game. We just knew it. And they did. And Keita in the first quarter was huge. Kind of, he was still good in the second quarter, but then he kind of sat for a while. And then it was the fourth quarter where the Celtics went on an 11-1 run to close the game. And it was just bucket, bucket, bucket. He had a kind of lost the ball in a big, strong, putback, or not putback, but a big, strong finish. And then an offensive rebound and a layup. And then the ball gets tipped around and he gets it and gets a dunk. And it was just boom, boom, boom. So shout out to Nimi. He should be the most improved player of the year. He's been great. And yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Nimi's been awesome.
That's all for today's Big 3 in 30 NBA. If you follow football or college sports, the Big 3 in 30 has shows for the biggest news in the NFL and on campus going up every weekday just like this one. Just search the Big 3 in 30 NFL or the Big 3 in 30 College wherever you're listening or watching right now. Thanks again for tuning in to the Big 3 in 30 NBA.